Hey you! Have you ever wished your Blue Eyes White Dragon were a bit bigger? A bit stronger? Had more attack points and protection? Well, look no further than Blue Eyes Chaos Max Dragon. With 1000 more attack, targeting and destruction protection, and double piercing damage, this dragon is guaranteed to impress. Order now! Ritual spells not included, playable hands also not included. Welcome to Playing the Unplayable, a series where I take a terrible deck, jump onto quick play, and try to make it work anyway. This first episode is going to be about Chaos Max, a deck that's very popular with newcomers. They see a 4000 attack beatstick that can't be destroyed or targeted, and they think, how does anyone destroy this? The answer is that most decks can nowadays. Won't stop people from playing it though. For this attempt at attaining playability, we first start off with 3 vanilla monsters. There's 2 reasons to actually play this. The first is because Advanced Ritual Art will send a monster of the same level as the ritual monster you're trying to summon, and they're all level 8, except Chalice Slime, but you never summon that. Secondly is because if you summon Chaos Dragon with a Blue Eyes, it actually gets a bonus effect, which will come up once in a blue moon. Secondly, you have your tribute monsters, Vanity's Ruler and Zaborg the Mega Monarch. Vanity's Ruler just stops your opponent from playing if they don't have an out, while Zaborg has a more interesting effect where it destroys itself to send 8 cards from both players' extra decks to the graveyard, of your choice. This can shut some decks down, but also gives you as many searches with Arclight or pops with Ventus that you can usually win if you manage to pull it off. After that we have our 7 incantations. They help search your ritual pieces, either monsters or spells, or even get them back from the graveyard if you've already used them. It's very necessary to make bricky ritual decks like this even slightly playable. Then we have Nightmare Corruptor Ibli, which isn't strictly speaking a good card, but it can help you choose a win if you happen to draw it going second, because you link it into Almirage, which gives your opponent a 0 defense monster for you to OTK them with. As for the rituals, we have 1 Chaos Dragon, 3 Chaos Max Dragon, 3 Chalice Slime, and an Amifactor Pain, the Imagination Drac Overlord. These are your main boss monster, doing double piercing damage, and this one helps it out by switching the attack position of your opponent's monsters and reducing their stats to 0. Together, these are always an ATK. This one isn't actually used as a ritual monster, and instead just helps you summon more incantations. And this one, whilst not amazing, gives you a play to go first, since it skips your opponent's main phase 1, which also skips their battle phase, and also negates the effect of Synchro, Xyz, or Fusion monsters. In the way of spells, we have Extra Foolish Burial, just to help you brick slightly less often, Melody of Awakening Dragon, more ritual searches basically, Advanced Ritual Art, which helps you not need to actually draw your Blue Eyes to tribute them, and Chaos Form, which banishes them from the graveyard after they've been used by Advanced Ritual Art. Finally, you have 1 Incantation Inception, because sometimes you have too many incantations on the field to actually summon anything else, and this helps clear them. It can also recycle itself, so worth the inclusion. The extra deck is mostly just targets to send with Zaborg. Skull Knight destroys something on the field, but you can choose to activate it later, while Centist destroys anything, but has to happen straight away. This can shuffle something back, these search ritual spells or monsters, and this can shuffle something back from your hand. Finally, Almirage is only really there for Nightmare Corruptor Ibli. With that out of the way, let's jump onto quick play and hope we get lucky enough to actually win. Something you'll quickly notice about this deck is how the tribute summons are more powerful than your actual ritual monsters. So you can use your incantations to search your ritual pieces, like the monsters or even the spells, or you could use them to get 2 monsters on the field, and just do a tribute summon. Zaborg destroys itself, tears apart both of our extra decks, and they surrender. Vanity's Ruler is an even bigger auto-win button against certain decks. If they don't have an out for it, they just lose. Since it's such a powerful effect, you're much more likely to win with 1 Vanity's Ruler than with all the Chaos Maxes in the world. So get out my first piece of tribute fodder, and then make a Blue Eyes Chaos Dragon. I'm not going to keep it for long. Don't judge me, Vanity's Rule is a much better card. I pass my turn, hope they don't have an out, and win! Sadly, you don't always get the turn 1 scoop and have to actually play the game sometimes. Which Shaddolls don't really want you to do. They play a Mathematician, and that sends a Shadoll Falco, which can special summon itself. It seems strange, but I think they just didn't have a Shadoll in their hand. They use Shadoll Fusion, make a Winder, and then pass. Sadly, Winder is enough to stop the deck, since all the incantations need to summon twice to get off a search. Except Chalice Slime. Chalice Slime will summon 1 from the deck, but that will be our only special summon for the turn. And since all rituals are special summons, I can't really do anything. I set an Iblian Pass, hoping my 0 attack monsters will form an impenetrable wall, allowing me to survive another turn. I do take damage from Chalice Slime though, since I wasn't able to ritual summon. They'll start their turn by normal summoning another Mathematician, proving that the OCG was right to have it limited until yesterday. Mathematician sends a Wendy, which summons a Hedgehog as their 1 special summon for the turn. They have no choice but to just go into their battle phase. They manage to wipe out my 0 defense monsters, in the process getting an Ibli on their side of the field, which will lock them out of fusion summons. I'm getting dangerously low on life points, but it's fine since I'll be able to out their window in 1 special summon next turn, thanks to Hammer Factor Pain. In a stroke of luck, I top deck Chaos Max, which is enough to win since I gave them the Ibli. All I need to do is use my advanced ritual art to summon it. But it turns out my opponent was playing good cards. So instead I need to waste my 1 special summon on a candle. I think we can all guess how this ends.
Failure.
So as it turns out, this deck loses to Ash Blossom and Winder. But no one plays those, right? I start this match off with a hand that will only really let me summon some dragons and pass. I do so, halving my life points in the process, but leaving me with 2 indestructible and untargetable monsters. Since I don't know what the opponent's playing, I just need to hope for the best. When I see Melody of Awakening Dragon, I wonder if they're playing the same deck as me, but it turns out they're playing normal Blue Eyes, which is somehow more competent. They do the Duel Link special, getting out a normal Blue Eyes, and then summon an alternative dragon. They can't pop anything, so they go straight into a Draglubion, and by this point I realise they're playing actually competent cards. They summon a Heart Earth Dragon, which reflects the damage back to the opponent. They have 0 attack. I have 4000 attack. I also have 4000 life points. At this point I realise I'm screwed. To nobody's surprise, normal Blue Eyes was better. It turns out extra decks are actually quite useful. Shame this deck barely uses one. This time I go first, making an Hammer Factor Pain, and hoping that they need monsters that aren't links to do their combos. I extend a bit further, halving my life points just to get out a Chaos Max. Without your tribute summon monsters, this is one of the better end boards you can hope for. They won't have a battle phase, so I'm hoping I can just survive until next turn. They skip to their main phase 2, and play Lost World. At this point I'm starting to panic. Am I actually going to have to play against a meta deck? Is this going to be my best of 3 versus meta? But then I see the Pot of Duality. I'm less worried now, especially since one of the revealed cards was Sword of Revealing Light. Instead they get a Fossil Dig, which searches Soul Eating of a Raptor. They set a card, play their Soul Eating, add an Ultimate Conductor Tyranno to the hand, which they of course can't special summon, and then end their turn. It's almost like locking yourself out of special summons isn't a very good move for Dinosaurs, especially when Pot of Prosperity exists. My top deck isn't useful at all in this situation, but somehow I fail to feel threatened. I go straight into my battle phase. I need to get hit by a Mirror Force as if it were the early 2000s. Unexpected, but it's not enough to get rid of my Chaos Max. I get in some damage, and end my turn. They send a dinosaur to the graveyard, but instead of playing the Ultimate Conductor Tyranno in their hand, they play a Pot of Duality. they just really hate special summoning, I think. They search a Power of the Guardians, then they special summon some kind of Dino Wrestler, and I just fail to be impressed. They destroy one entire 0 attack monster and pass it back to me. At this point, I just summon the Vanity's Ruler and go in on the offensive. There's not much they're going to be able to do. But since they hate special summoning so much, I thought I'd lock them out of it. Attacking Diabli is more than enough to end this game. Now I promise, I wasn't trying to farm replays against this terrible, terrible dinosaur deck. I just happened to be rematched against them because, well, no one's playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Amiga. Please play Yu-Gi-Oh! Amiga. It's a simulator that doesn't look like it's from 1998. Luckily for them, my hand's not the best. I'll be able to get out one ritual monster, but not much else. I do my searches, getting Amifactor Pain again, summon it, and then end my turn. I'm waiting for them to play the Pot of Duality. They skip all the way to the main phase 2 and play Pancratops, which surprises me since it's an actual decent card for once. They tribute a dinosaur and then destroy the only card of mine that actually does anything. Since they didn't have a battle phase, my 2 incantations are fine, but I don't have any tribute summons anyway. Instead, I get out even more incantations, searching a monster, and summon a Chaos Max, which will not be able to be destroyed by Pancratops. I don't think they realise that, so they destroy their only monster. That's fine by me, I go in and halve their life points. At this point, I'm feeling fairly confident since they've failed to do anything so far. But then I realise that they have 2 dinosaurs in the graveyard. Fossil Dig gets a Miscellaneousaurus. They summon a Soul-Eating Oviraptor, and that searches the UTC, which they summon. At this point, I realise that I have no way of dealing with this card. Despite all of Blue Eyes Chaos Max's protection, it can do absolutely nothing against being flipped face down. And all of my 0 attack, 0 defense position monsters are actually not a good thing to have around, when this can attack all of them, and burn me for it. I take a bunch of damage, but not enough to finish me off. However, there's not much I can do with this hand. With this hand, I can get out some incantations, and it's enough to be able to make one ritual summon, but I know that whatever I summon will immediately be flipped face down. I try and bait it out by getting lots of incantations, but despite their deck building abilities, they're not quite that stupid, and so they immediately flip over my Chaos Max. At this point, there's really nothing I can do. I scoop. However, even with a deck this bad, I really don't want to lose with someone with those deck building abilities, so I go in for the 3rd round. I do have powerful tribute summon monsters this time, but I won't have the 2 incantations to actually make them. My opponent terraforms a Lost World, and then I make a Capo?
Whatever it is I'm holding?
This time it will give me a token, since they didn't lock themselves out of it with Duality. But I'm realising that maybe I do have a way to summon those tribute summon monsters after all. Chalice Slime will give me one, and they so kindly gave me the other one. I get a candle, which searches more ritual pieces, and then summons a Borg, destroying itself to send most of my extra deck to the graveyard. The Heralds give me all the ritual searches I could ever need, and then the Entices take apart the rest of their field. At this point, it's definitely overkill. I don't need most of the searches I did. But I do because I didn't like losing to them last game. So I make a bunch of Chaos Maxes and Amifactor Pain, which is definitely enough for the ATK. So there's proof that Chaos Max can win a best of 3 against Dinosaurs, clearly making them a meta deck.
No.
Speaking of meta, Atignistas actually do stuff nowadays. And by stuff, I mean making a huge, unaffected by everything Link boss monster, with a dragon to back it up. If you've ever played against them, you know their combo, since it's pretty much the same every time. So I'm just gonna speed through it. They ended on their arrival Cybers, which, while unaffected by all card effects, has 4000 attack. But I actually have monsters with 4000 attack in my deck. Sadly I won't be able to attack it since they have a Quantum Cyberse dragon, and that forces me to attack that instead. Luckily for me, I have good tribute summons in my hand, and enough incantations to pull it off. I get my search off before tribute summoning as a Borg, which destroys itself to tear apart half of their extra deck. Sending the Elder Entities, the Heralds, and a few Skull Knights will probably give me enough materials and destructions to pull this off. I target it twice because I know they're going to protect one of them, and I destroy one of their traps just in case it was something useful. Without the Quantum Dragon, I'll actually be able to attack their rival Cyberse now. They draw a card, and I start trying to destroy the rest of their monsters. They protect it, but that's fine. They negate my advanced ritual art, but I had another one. So I make a Chaos Max and a Chaos Dragon. The Chaos Dragon forces their monster into attack mode, before destroying it, but they take no damage from that battle. And then the two big boys collide into each other. It's not immune to battle destruction, so overall I come out on top. They revive Picari, which searches another Idol Reborn, but with no extra deck, there's really not much they can do at this point, so after flailing around for a while, they end up surrendering. At this point, I'm feeling fairly confident. I defeated a dinosaur deck that was definitely meta, I promise, and even the Atagnistas couldn't do anything with their new support. I don't have the best hand, and instead just make a few Chaos Dragons and have my life points in the process. I'm hoping that whatever I'm playing against won't be able to out them, since it is two big attack, indestructible, untargetable monsters. But what is that I hear in the background? It's as if something's approaching. Something menacing. Oh. Oh no. Oh sh... So I admit, it's not the best deck. You do win sometimes, just if you get lucky enough to attack a low defense monster, and the deck does some cool things sometimes, but those things aren't usually Chaos Max itself, and instead just rely on having tributes. It can be a fun deck if you like your games to be very quick and don't like thinking at all, but mostly just play it if you like huge dragons. That's all for this week's Playing the Unplayable. If you liked it, give it a like and subscribe to my channel. If you want other things, like my Twitter, they're down in the description below. And if you want to play this terrible deck yourself, you can find the YDK files in my Patreon, which is also in the description. Until next time.